Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 15th, 2021 at approximately 11:22 a.m. PST. Things are interesting. Now, getting back to where I was. Okay, there are a lot. I've got some major projects that are going right now. I've got some major projects I'm working on right now. And the way things are working, we have to take a look at the way energy sits. Now, just understand that if we all take a look at the way the energy is running around you, okay, in your life, and everybody simply takes care of themselves first, and what I mean by that is take a look at the way your life is. If you're happy with your life, this is great. If not, what you may find is that the clutter around you, the layout that your house is in or that your office is in, may well be interfering with the way things are going. Okay. Now, I've talked multiple times about something called Feng Shui, which really boils down to energy direction. And when you eliminate the negative things in your life, you eliminate the blocks, what ends up happening is the energy around you runs a lot more smoothly. You'll find you're much more energetic. Now, I like the way it was put one day. Okay, the way it was stated to me was the best way to describe insanity is repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Now, there are some really horrendous things that have been going on. And life is starting to get mobile, and just as we start getting things mobile, all of a sudden we end up with some added little problems. Now, here's the thing. That insanity thing applies to everything, even in my life. You know, I was running my life exactly the same way over the last 58 years. Well, actually, in all fairness, up until 2 years ago, I was really in the thick of it. The beginning of this year, I got, for me, a staggering amount of money. Simply put, I got about 4 years worth of money in the form of my estate from my mom. Problem was, it wiped out all the debt I had, but it didn't correct the thinking problem. Okay, it wasn't until May, 5 months into it, that it dawned on me that I hadn't corrected the problem at all. Okay, now this applies to everybody else as well. Let's take a look at the issue of the energy first of all. Okay, if you take a look at the way the energy in your house is running or your major work area, if you look at that, if you don't alter the way the energy is running, you're going to constantly find that things pretty much stay the same way. Okay, and you're the only one on the planet that can be successful for you. I can give you all the tools, anybody can give you all the tools, but the reality is if you don't use them, they won't do any good. Okay, so when I found out myself, yeah, I'm hotter than Hades here still. I really should do this, like, first thing in the morning when I get up. I keep getting sidetracked, which is not necessarily a good thing. But once you start altering the way that the energy runs in your house, now, it was put to me really nicely that the state of your work area, of your main living area, wherever you spend your most time, that the state of that is a reflection of the way your mind is working. Now, with this in mind, the state of your mind is also a reflection of the way your house looks or your work area looks. So, it's easier to alter the physical layout than the physical odds and ends are laying around than it is to alter the way you think. If you don't believe me, give it a shot. Tidy up your work area however you need it, and that's where this funny little list of chores comes in. Is by putting that list together, keep the list as 15-minute to half-hour tasks. As you just start off with 3. Okay, and where do you start? Start right where you're sitting. Right now, look at whatever's around you. Okay, if you're not content with it, make a change. If you don't change it, if you don't like what it changes to, you can always change it again. Yeah, I'm moving stuff out of my way because I don't feel like getting up to walk over there just yet. But the reality is this. Once you get it cleaned up, you can function more effectively. And that's just the way reality works. Don't take my word for it. Give it a shot. Okay. Now, what I did when I got to May, I sat there and looked at it and went, okay, I got all the money that I got the estate in. I got enough money to get myself debt free, but I never corrected the thinking process. So in May, I went, no, I've got to change that thinking process. At present, I've at least got a ground rule for getting the thinking process sorted out. But then we come back to this other problem when we go back to the way that insanity was described. Now, 40 years ago, roughly, okay, and I might be off by a decade. They might have started 10 years ago or 50 years ago. I don't know. But what I do know is they started talking about the starving people in Ethiopia, the starving people in your own home, in your own areas. Okay. Now, the same methods have been used to deal with these problems. Used or ignored, take your pick. Send minimal support, minimal health care, minimal spiritual guidance, right? Keep treating them the same way and expect it to change. Well, here we are in 2021. We still have so-called third world countries starving to death. We still have people in our own communities starving to death. The churches have closed the doors. And as far as what I've seen, they've essentially closed the doors on the whole. There is the occasional one that opens the doors wide. Okay, and to those ones, absolute thumbs up. Speaking of which, how about if we get a thumbs up on the video and subscribe to our channel? It's time to get things turned around. If you subscribe to the channel, one of my big goals is to get this message out to the entire world that working together, we can change this world for essentially the better. Okay, now some of you won't like it anyway because some of you have this idea that you should be handed everything. The reality is karmic law says do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Now I saw it posted on Facebook today or yesterday, that, we have all these starving people out there, all these poor people, all the socially, the medically challenged people, and I'm not referring to the ones that people have done it to themselves. I'm referring to the kids that are born this way, or the people that have had an accident, or age has taken its toll on their health. Okay. And they were talking about all these people. Now here's the problem. Many governments are giving free narcotics to drug addicts, yet they are not giving free insulin and free heart medication and free psychotic care, free psychoactive medication to help people cope with if you will, legal complications. They tell you drugs are illegal, but here's legal drugs. Now, I saw it put on Facebook. Okay, somebody brought up the idea, look, we've got all these people starving. If you keep taxing them, or you don't give them a cost of living increase, okay, then what you're doing is you're doing the same thing. They said leave that alone, and people will die. Okay, they will die of starvation. They will die of illness. If you take away tax breaks from the multi-billionaires, then the billionaires are still making billions of dollars. Now, I don't begrudge anybody that has worked hard their money. Okay. What I have always held is that if you're going to make a law, it has to apply to everybody equally. Not, I've got X number of dollars, therefore I'm better than other people, therefore I should get a better tax break. Okay. Or, I'm a church, therefore I shouldn't pay taxes. That would be great. If I would agree wholeheartedly with some of that. If it weren't for the fact that the churches, for example, they get these tax breaks. They are not dealing with the starving people on the street anymore. They're not taking care of the sick and the hurt people. Okay, they're just simply pocketing the money. And as has been going on for centuries, they're building these gaudy temples, okay, these absolutely lavish, testaments to their own ego, is the way I look at it. Now, this is my opinion, which probably is going to upset a whole pile of people. But the reality is, I've never been known to be politically correct. Okay, I do my best not to swear at people, but I simply speak from the hip. If you ever meet me in person, you'll find me the same way. Do I get annoyed with certain things? Certainly. But even if you're Christian, even Yeshua himself did not remain calm all the time. Okay, the reality is, if we work together, if you take a look at the monetary side of things, the size of somebody's pocketbook does not make them a better person. The size of somebody's heart quite often can make them a better person and can have a direct impact on their income. But I like the way one person put it to me. He goes, I've been miserable rich and I've been miserable poor. He says, hands down, I would rather be miserable rich, which I absolutely agree with. But the other thing that goes hand in hand with that is money doesn't buy happiness. By the way, it also doesn't buy you a seat in heaven. And lack of money doesn't buy you a seat in hell. Okay, for those of you that believe in those places. Okay, I like the way I heard it put one day. Those of you that don't believe God exists, better pray you're right. Or more to the point, those of you that that live your life as though God... let's try thinking that through, shall we? To those of you that live your life as though God does not exist, you better pray you're right. Okay, because if God does not exist, what you're doing won't matter. However, if he does exist, if karmic law has anything to do with reality, okay, and you live your life as though it doesn't exist, okay, it's kind of along the same lines as live your life as though gravity doesn't exist and see how well that works. No, don't. That's a really bad idea. Okay, what I found was this. When I corrected my thinking and went, okay, I'm not happy with the way this is going. Okay, I made a conscious decision that I was going to alter my behavioral patterns, my spending patterns, to elicit a different outcome, because doing what I was doing had done nothing for me. It got me out of a bind, but then I found myself going right back into the same bin. Okay, I've already overextended myself on what's going out, and I'm having to really make severe modifications to accommodate that. But I've set things in motion to make the outcome work. Now it's going to take me a few months more to get things moving in the direction I desire them to. Okay, and this is where this list comes in. Okay, because what I've done is I keep a list handy as to what I'm working on, so I can get it checked off and get it moved out of the way, one step at a time. If we all do this, we will find that this world runs a lot more effectively for virtually everybody. Now, there will always, in all likelihood, be the people that go, but I'm special, I should be treated better than everybody else. Essentially the world revolves around me. Well, the world certainly doesn't revolve around me. Last I checked, the world revolves around the sun as a local point. But the whole thing revolves around another point. Now, I'm not going to tell you who to believe in, I'm not even going to tell you to take my word for anything. I'm going to tell you that this is the way I live my life. Okay, and because one of the goals that I do have at present is to take this message and spread it across the entire world, not only to the people that have technology, not only to the people I know, but to everybody. And I'm asking you guys to give us a thumbs up on the video, subscribe to my channel so that you can take this information and spread it to everybody around you, whether it is reposting it, retweeting it, just simply, restating it to people that don't have technology. Spread the word that together we can make this a more effective world for everybody. We can eliminate war. We can eliminate famine. We can eliminate greed if everybody has what they require. Okay, now, absolutely. See, when we start looking at the monetary side, okay, when you start looking at that, I'm not going to get into the politics or into the financial finagling of what country's money is worth more than the next. I've always personally considered one cow is worth one cow. It's that simple. One chicken is worth one chicken. Okay, how they come up with a difference in countries, I don't know. Okay, maybe it has something to do with availability. But what I do know is this. If we work together, we can make this world a lot more effective for all of us. If people have everything they require, and if the laws are laid out equally, if spiritual guidance is available to everyone, and is being led by people that are following their own guidance, okay, then a lot of the things that cause problems are dealt with. One of the most fascinating things I ever found, there's all these ads out that say smoking is bad for you. Well, you know, it's really funny. Here's a substitute for smoking. Here's another thing you can use instead of smoking. Use this instead. And the reality, from my understanding, is that some of the chemicals put into the cigarettes themselves are highly addictive. Same as some of the chemicals that are put into the food, where people say you've got to lose weight. Some of the chemicals that are put into foods are literally designed to make you hungry and gain weight. Now, if the manufacturers that are making these things cut the toxins out of what they're making and quit relying on the idea of, they talk about it, it's all completely counterproductive. Really. Okay, if you want people to stop smoking, okay, but you still want to sell cigarettes, don't put the addictive qualities in, but add something in the lines of a flavor that makes it taste better. People can still use it for whatever, okay, but you're not making them addicted. Now, I did get a kick out of a post one day, and I'm paraphrasing again. But the post I saw was in 1894, when Coca-Cola was first made. Okay, in 1894, when Coca-Cola was first made, each can had 3.4 grams of cocaine in it. Now we know why our grandparents and parents could walk uphill 8 miles in each direction to go to school. Okay, now, from my way of looking at it, this is why I don't have a problem with pharmacies, because pharmacies go, here's this little thing that this medication will do to you. Here's this big stack of what it'll do to kill you. Now, please buy my stuff. Now, they're being as straightforward as they can be. If you still decide to buy it, that's your choice. Okay. If they tell you this drug can be addictive, please buy it. Okay. And you decide to buy it anyway, so be it. But what's happening is we talk about people desiring to lose weight and try all these neat little weight loss ideas. Here's a pill that'll take it away. And here's why all this other stuff doesn't work. Try this pill, it'll make you better. Well, pills have never done a whole lot for many people. Okay, I did find out there are some times when medication is very necessary. And with that in mind, this idea of giving free drugs to drug addicts and making people that require things like insulin to actually survive and making them pay for it, there is something wrong with this when you're saying having diabetes is legal, but you're going to have to pay to get better. But using drugs is illegal. So we're going to tell you need to quit, but we're going to give you free drugs. Okay. That's like telling a chocoholic, somebody that is addicted to chocolate, chocolate's bad for you. Here's a great big pile of chocolate. Now, don't eat that. Good luck. This is what I mean about it being counterproductive. Okay. When we look at the churches going, this is a sin, that is a sin, you know, come and we'll help you get better, we'll take care of you, and you lock the doors on the people that are starving and the people that are homeless, you're counterproductive. You're not helping the people that require help. And the fact that there are taxes being, that as far as I understand it, in my understanding is it's only the land that the church itself sits on is not taxed. But the reality is it's not taxed, which is fine if the doors were open to the people and helping the other people, where that tax money was going someplace other than the pockets of the people that own the building. Okay, then I probably wouldn't have as much to complain about with it. In my case, what I did was I looked at the way my world was going, and I went, okay, I got this chunk of money in. I didn't correct my thinking. I was still doing exactly the same thing. I was following the same path, making the same mistakes, and frankly, I'm right back in the same boat. Not as deep. And this time I'll be able to dig myself out of it without a sudden influx. Okay, the reality I found years ago was people that win the lottery. Okay, most of them, and check your own stats on it, most people that win a lottery or get a big inheritance within 3 years are back in the same boat they were in before they got the windfall. More often than not, they're in worse shape. Now, I feel really blessed to have figured out that my problem was my thinking, but I found out about it in May. So June was pretty much a massive wake-up call for me. And now I'm getting the mindset in the right order of what can be done, what can't be done. I've still got some problems I've got to sort out. But by using this idea of the list and getting it sorted around, what's happening is I am getting things organized. Okay. And I am getting them corrected so that I can move forward. One step at a time. Now, with that in mind, okay, I've got major projects on the go. Okay, getting this video spread out around the world, getting this message spread out to everybody is a major one. Then I've got the Yldrbac Chronicles, which is a 12-volume set of science fiction, science fantasy books. Okay, and I'm starting to put the information on my Facebook page for that. Then I've got my other set of books, which is Races of the Worlds, which is also being written. I just found an artist the other day to do that work for me. Okay, and I found a way. I was talking to the artist for the Yldrbac Chronicles, and we've worked out an agreement on how all of it meshes together. Again, these are little bits and pieces, and you've got the same thing going on in your life. You've got multiple different little projects on the go, multiple things you're trying to accomplish, but they can all be tied together. Okay, it's all interlocked. Very much the same as everybody on the planet is interlocked. And for that matter, everybody off the planet. There is a concept of 6 degrees of separation, meaning you may not personally know me. Okay, but you've obviously seen me. But between me and between yourself and anybody else on the planet, you know somebody, they know somebody, and they know somebody you don't know. They know somebody neither of you know. And it goes all the way down until on the 6th person. Okay, on the 6th person you have, yeah, that looks right. Once you get to that point, this 6th person goes, oh, I already know him. And it's like, okay. So we are all interconnected. All projects you're working on are all interconnected. And there are ways of locking them together. Okay, just to give you an example. Yeah, I got one right here. This little thing here, I'm writing the Yldrbac Chronicles. Okay, that's one project I've got. I'm writing the Races of the Worlds. That's another project. Now, the Races of the Worlds and the Yldrbac Chronicles are tied together. Okay, as it turns out. I also play Dungeons and Dragons, which is my hobby. Okay, And then we have things like this. Because I'm also a science fiction, science fantasy author. Then we have these little figures that I also paint. They're up there as well. Okay. Again, it's another hobby that is tied, does the same thing. But all of this happens in my office, which means the energy in my office has to be running smoothly in order for me to function. Okay. So with that in mind, very necessary that when you're looking at your world, take your working area, make sure you get it straightened out. And remember, no matter how much other people tell you, you're the only one that can make any of it work. You're the only one at all that can make any of it work. Everybody can give you all the encouragement they'd like, but if you don't get off your tail and make the changes, it's not going to alter. And especially to those of you that have a major goal in your mind. Like if you want to go into what many people seem to think are the untouchable professions. You want to become an author, you want to become a singer, you want to become an actress, you desire to become a major politician and do all sorts of nice things for the world, absolutely, go after it. Take a look at what you're doing and ask yourself, what is stopping you from getting there? What is not working in that direction? I'll tell you, the first place you'll find is where your thinking process is probably a little twisted, probably a little off kilter. But that's why I say when you desire to do something, talk to somebody that's done it successfully. Now, personally, I come from a small town. Okay, small town, military base. Okay, tiny little thing. I mean, there were only 2,500 people in the city, from what I understand, when I was growing up there. Okay, I was very isolated from people. I considered myself an outcast amongst outcasts. And here I am today, a published author. Okay, I am talking to you on video. Okay, and these are what I call live recordings, meaning I don't alter anything. When I get finished the recording, I double check, make sure I've got the date right, and then post it as is. Okay, but these are goals. I didn't even know I had them, really. It never registered. In grade 10, I came up with the idea for this storyline. Here I am at 58, 43 years later. I've attained that goal. I've managed to get it into print. Now, I'm not finished. I got another probably 6 to 10 years of writing ahead of me to get these all into print. And so be it. You know, that's just the way it goes. But the fact of the matter is, do not give up on your dreams. Okay, they may have been put on hold. Many people I talk to have a dream of doing something that they thought was a great idea when they were 16, 17 years old. And now they're looking at it going, well, you know, I put it off and now I can't do it. There's very little you can't do. Now, granted, if you thought of becoming an Olympic champion when you were 16 years old, and life got in the way, and here you are in your mid-40s, the odds of you becoming an Olympic champion are pretty limited. That doesn't mean you can't get in good shape. Okay, I'm in the process of getting myself back into shape. You can as well. The fact of the matter is, I'm not expecting to become an Olympic champion. I mean, let's face it, I got a bad leg. And that's just the reality. That's not what I desire to have, but it is a reality of what I'm dealing with. These things one day I'll get rid of completely. They annoy me. For the moment, I'm working with them. I use those, much like many things, as a crutch. But the one thing I refuse to use as a crutch anymore is my own problem. I asked a few people, how do you deal with the idea? Is it a problem? And like, I became reclusive for a simple reason. I couldn't cope with being around people. And I asked a number of people a very simple question. Is it a problem that I'm having being around people because I don't understand them or because I do? And they looked at me and went, well, I think, you know, one person goes, I think it's a combination. Another person goes, you know, you just have to find a way to distract yourself. And then the final one goes, he turns around and he says, well, he says, I discovered something new today. He says, I found out that a school of piranha will strip a child to the bone inside of 30 seconds. And then he carries on. Immediately he goes, in other news, I lost my job at the aquarium. Now, I looked at that and went, well, that's a different way of looking at it. Bear in mind, that was very much a joke, in case you hadn't noticed. But the reality of it is, and no, I'm not good at them. The reality is, if you're not content with the way your life is going, if you've got a goal, no matter how long ago it was. I had a client years ago. She came to me at 52 years old. I always wanted to be a doctor, but I think I'm too old now. Well, I talked to her for almost a year. And at 53, she enrolled in medical school. And like I told her, I said, the only thing you got to realize at this age is, number one, you'll get your MD, but the odds are by the time that you're not going to get long in that field before you hit so-called retirement age, right? And so the flip side of that is you're 53 going in and competing, doing the exact same lessons and same restrictions, same expectations as 18, 20-year-olds. Think of the motivation that you can give them by simply leading by example. Well, I'm happy to say I worked with her for for all 8 years. And at 60 years old, she got her MD. Okay, she became an MD at 60, starting from scratch. Literally speaking, in my opinion, if you've got a goal, go after it. Do not let anybody tell you it's unattainable. Okay, I mean, there are certain ones that really, like, for instance, if you're planning on skydiving without a parachute, really bad idea. Technically, it can be done. I've heard of it once. Now, this said, I keep these down to about the half-hour mark. So, again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to ring that alarm bell just to the right of it to let yourself know when the next one comes out. And I will talk to you tomorrow morning. Well, hopefully tomorrow morning, but tomorrow at some time. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.